Good morning. The biggest batch yet of factory-built, affordable houses. Could they be the key to solving our housing crisis?
Yes, could it be part of the solution to the country's housing shortage? Nina's in Knaresborough to find out for us. Morning, Nina.
Yes, good morning, Tina. Good morning, John. As you say, we are in the midst of a crisis. We have hundreds of thousands of homeless people, tens of thousands of families who need somewhere to live. Now, the government is endorsing these modular homes built bit by bit in a factory on a production line, a bit like a car, and then delivered to where they'll be for people to live. Think of prefab homes and you'll probably have something like this in mind.
By Mr. Churchill as emergency dwellings for demobilised servicemen and their families.
Prefab houses built after the Second World War for returning soldiers and following bomb damage. They weren't built to last, but they were lived in for decades after they were supposed to be. But modern modular homes, as their builders prefer to call them, are being touted as a potential solution to the housing crisis and the construction skills shortage. They're built to a higher quality these days and take roughly half the time to build in a factory, then assemble on sites like a traditional build. But only around 1% of new homes built last year, that's fewer than 15,000, were modular buildings. Look at this, literally stapling it together behind us. So 750 homes are being built here. That is the biggest order yet of affordable modular housing. Let's talk to Dave, the boss. Talk me through then, Dave, the process here, but also, what are the advantages of building homes in a factory like this rather than on a traditional building site?
Yeah, we chose the manufacturing route because we can produce at volume, we can produce a quality product, engineered, and we can also guarantee supply through the way we've adopted the manufacturing process against construction. And what we've also been able to do is generate additionality to the skills gap.
What does that mean?
So what we've done, we've brought people in who haven't come from the construction industry, and trained them how to assemble and manufacture homes rather than using traditional skills. As we all know, there's pressure on skills within this country.
Yeah, there is just you can have a look over there. That is the ceiling to what will be somebody's home. We know at the moment, don't we, that almost half of labourers on construction sites are 50 years or above, and we have a real crisis getting into the construction
Yeah,
industry.
what we've been able to do is bring new entrants into the construction industry, but we don't like to talk about construction, we like to talk about precision manufactured homes, because we can guarantee quality as they come off the line, which means, like in a car factory, we can ensure that the houses come out at a quality product rather than just being built on a dirty site in a dirty environment.
Right down to the point where you can choose your bathroom and kitchen. Let's go and talk to Gemma, because Gemma, who is a finance expert. At the moment, there are three things going on. We have this crisis when it comes to construction. The government wants to build more homes are needed, and yet these modular homes aren't in demand. What's going wrong in that chain?
We have a massive challenge to help people own their own home, but in order for houses like this to be the solution, they need to, first of all, satisfy a need, so people need to want to live in houses like this, and secondly, solve a problem, so be an easier way to afford a home. The challenge we face is that there are some low quality versions of these homes on the market, and there's a misconception that they're low quality in general, which is dampening demand, but also dampening the appetite for mortgage lenders to lend money against them. So it's making it a challenge to actually be able to afford them as well.
Can you see that changing in the near future? Because goodness knows we need more homes, don't we?
Well, the pressure's building. It's like a bit of a pressure cooker, and the more that pressure builds, the more focus there is on trying to find a solution. And if you have solutions like this available, hopefully it'll provide the impetus for people to come together, so mortgage lenders, banks, customers, etc., to really challenge that misconception.
Okay, and that's what they're telling us here. It's that economy of scale, so they want to work with other developers to make sure they can build lots and lots of these. You can see a roof over there that would literally be plonked on the top, and then the house will be taken out of the factory when it's completely finished. We'll be having a look a little bit later on at what's going on inside the homes. I might even pick my own kitchen.
Look forward to that. Flat packed. See you later, Nina.
Good morning. This is the biggest batch yet of affordable homes built inside a factory. Could they be the key to solving our housing crisis?
You're watching Breakfast from BBC News this Friday morning. We've sent Nina out to do some proper graft today. We've sent her to Knaresborough, to a factory where they're making Houses. Could this be a way of solving our housing shortage? Morning, Nina.
Yes, good morning, John. I've not done any construction myself yet. I might put a bathroom together a bit later. We're in the midst of a chronic housing crisis. The bottom line is that hundreds of thousands of people are homeless, tens of thousands of families are desperate for affordable housing. And the government think that modular homes could be part of the solution. What are modular homes? So have a look down here. They are built just like a production line where you might see a car or any other product that's in manufacturing. 4 walls built down there, then the windows are added, then where we're stood, the bathroom and the kitchens are put in, and where I'm stood now, this is the upstairs of a house. It will be plonked right on top of one of those, which is the downstairs of a house. Then when it's fully constructed, it's taken and placed where it will be for families to live in. There are advantages of this. It means it gets around the shortage of the number of construction workers, but there are some disadvantages. For example, the fact that they're slightly more expensive than traditional homes. We'll be talking about the complexities of the housing shortage and whether these could form part of the solution. But first, the news, the travel and the weather, wherever you're watching in your lovely home this morning.
It's just after 10 to 8. We know that the government wants to build 300,000 homes a year in England by the middle of the next decade. But how do you do that?
Exactly. Could assembling them in factories be part of the solution to the country's housing shortage? Well, Nina's in Knaresborough for us to find out. Morning, Nina.
Yes, good morning, Tina. Good morning, John. Welcome to my home. Only kidding, my walls have never been this clean. And we are talking modular homes this morning. That means, as you say, homes that are built inside a factory, on site, then driven off on a lorry and delivered to where they will become homes for families. The boilers installed here, the electrics, and people can even choose their light fitting before it's delivered. Now, the government says we are hundreds of thousands of homes short. We have so many fewer than what we need. They think that modular homes like this are a big part of the solution to that crisis. Think of prefab homes and you'll probably have something like this in mind.
By Mr. Churchill as emergency dwellings for demobilised servicemen and their families.
Prefab houses built after the Second World War for returning soldiers and following bomb damage. They weren't built to last, but they were lived in for decades after they were supposed to be. But modern modular homes, as their builders prefer to call them, are being touted as a potential solution to the housing crisis and the construction skills shortage. They're built to a higher quality these days and take roughly half the time to build in a factory, then assemble on sites like a traditional build. But only around 1% of new homes built last year, that's fewer than 15,000, were modular buildings. Yeah, have a look at this one that's just been put on these lifters, which are controlled by Bluetooth. That will take it then on the back of a lorry and it will be driven to Kent. And then the top floor, which is just across the way over there, will be put on it. Amazing, isn't it? Let's talk now to Dave, because you're responsible for 750 of these new homes.
Absolutely.
It's the biggest affordable housing contract like that at the moment. What are the advantages of making them on this production line as opposed to constructing on site?
It's a lot quicker because we control the process. It's a lot cleaner, so much better for the environment because it's done with inside a factory, so there's less carbon. It's also at a higher quality because it's precision engineered, and we've got control over each of the stations, so we can guarantee the customer gets a high quality home which comes out the factory as you see today.
And when it comes to local employment, there are advantages, aren't there? Because we know there's a bit of a bottleneck when it comes to the labour force in construction. This means low-skilled workers can find employment.
The fantastic opportunity we've got is to bring manufacturing jobs back to places like this. Construction industry has got a skills gap. We can fill some of that gap by bringing in people from manufacturing, from retail, and train the production operatives on the line, which gives a real opportunity for employment in places like this which would have been lost. OK, thank you, Dave. And yet there are all those advantages of modular homes, and yet we are still in the midst of this massive crisis. The government isn't even hitting 50% of its target. Let's talk to Mark, who advises the government on housing. What's going wrong? Why aren't these houses flying off the shelf?
I think part of the problem is our industry is notoriously reticent to change. It just does not like to do anything different to what it's always done. So we're effectively building homes the same way that we did 100 years ago. I think there's also a real fundamental issue with the split between manufacturers such as Ilke and what you're seeing here today at the factory, and the fact that the land that you need to build these homes on is actually owned by other people. So that the real significance of the deal that's been announced today is actually Ilke coming together with Places for People, who have shown a real leadership position in saying, look, we had the land, you had the manufactured homes, let's get together and let's talk about doing a deal at scale.
You've worked closely with the government. People say we're hearing it every year. Do they mean it? Are they committed to building more homes? Because there'll be people watching thinking, I need an affordable house, it's really impacting my life.
Yeah, so I would say they do mean it. Everything I'm seeing actually confirms the fact that they're taking this seriously. There's a real firm commitment to want to modernise the home building market and to create additional capacity, because the big problem we have at the moment is we're not going to build 300,000 homes a year, which is what the government is saying. Building traditionally, you have to have means of construction which are modern, technology enabled, and actually are going to drive higher quality as well, because we have a big problem in the market at the moment around poor quality homes. So this is about not just the extra numbers, it's about quality homes.
Okay, and Mark was saying earlier, if we're looking at a timescale, it's going to be at the very least 5 to 10 years before that housing crisis is met, because of the scale of it, Mark, isn't it? But we'll have to let these guys go now, because this has got to get all the way to Kent for a lucky new family due to live in it.
I don't want to be stuck behind it on the motorway. I can tell you that's going to hold up the traffic. But yeah, there's a lot of building going on.
Nightmare.
But it's somebody's home, and we need lots of homes. Nina, thanks for now.
Thanks
very much.
you. OK.
Good morning. The biggest batch yet of factory-built affordable housing. Could they be the key to solving our housing crisis?
You are watching Breakfast from BBC News. The government has ambitious plans to build, they say, 300,000 homes a year in England, but could making them inside factories be part of the solution to the country's housing shortage? Well, Nina's in Knaresborough to find out more for us. Nina.
Yes, good morning, Tina. Can you see me down here? Yeah, we're talking about modular homes. Modular meaning bit by bit, so built houses that are built on a factory line like this. So back there the four walls are put together, then the windows are added, then the kitchens and the bathrooms, and then the top halves of the homes are slotted onto the top and off they go in a lorry. There are huge advantages to homes like this. For example, it gets around the current crisis we're having the number of construction workers. Also, they only take a day to build, but there are also some problems. You need a massive factory like this in which to build them, and also a lot of mortgage lenders aren't quite familiar with them yet, so they're not quite ready to lend against them. We will be looking in a bit more detail at modular homes and the part they might play in our housing crisis a bit later. But first, the news, the travel and weather, wherever you're calling home this morning.
Sarah.
It's nearly 9 o'clock. We've talked quite a lot on Breakfast over the last few months about how on earth we solve the housing crisis. The government says it wants to build 300,000 new homes every year in England by the middle of the next decade. But how do you do it?
Is that achievable? What are the solutions? Could assembling them in factories be one solution to our housing shortage? Well, Nina is in Knaresborough this morning for us to find out. Hi, Nina.
Good morning, Tina. Good morning, John. Yeah, this is sort of a construction site, but not as you know it. These are modular homes, and by that we mean they're built in modules, pieced together bit by bit. Right back there, the four walls are put together. Then the windows and doors are put in, the kitchens are built, and look, that one's on the move, and then they're put on a lorry and moved to wherever they're going to end up to provide a home for families. As you said, we are in a desperate need for more homes. The government's only reaching 50% of its target at the moment, and they're saying that modular homes could be part of the key to solving the problem. Think of prefab homes and you'll probably have something like this in mind.
By Mr. Churchill as emergency dwellings for demobilised servicemen and their families.
Prefab houses built after the Second World War for returning soldiers and following bomb damage. They weren't built to last, but they were lived in for decades after they were supposed to be. But modern modular homes, as their builders prefer to call them, are being touted as a potential solution to the housing crisis and the construction skills shortage. They're built to a higher quality these days and take roughly half the time to build in a factory, then assemble on sites like a traditional build. But only around 1% of new homes built last year, that's fewer than 15,000, were modular buildings.
There we go, I'm slightly out of breath. We just legged it to the front of the production line. So you can see there the roofs being constructed, the shell of the homes here being put together. Literally, we've been seeing the staples go on this morning. Now this is a contract for 750 new modular homes. That is the biggest affordable homes contract of its type. Let's just disturb Dave. Sorry to interrupt, Dave.
It's all right.
You're proud of these homes, aren't you? Tell us what makes them different.
What makes them different is that they're built in a quality environment. We've got clients like Place for People and Dave Cowans who's been at the forefront of this, which makes us really energised to deliver some fantastic product for their residents and hopefully change the nature of house building in this country.
Thank you, Dave. And what Dave was telling us as well is a lot of the jobs here, they're pretty low skilled. So we know at the moment there's a real blockage when it comes to skilled labour in construction. And this gets around it. There are some problems though. For example, you need a massive factory to build them in like this. Let's talk to Mark now, who's been advising the government on the current housing crisis. How much of the bigger picture can modular homes make, do you think? How much of a difference can they make?
I think it's got a significant impact that it can make. I think actually, if you look at where the government is setting its home building target of 300,000 homes a year, we're currently building 220,000 homes a year. That 80,000 uplift cannot be done through traditional means. We just do not have enough skilled labour. We have an ageing workforce. We don't have enough young kids coming into the industry. So it actually means that we need to improve our productivity. And the only way you're going to improve productivity is moving traditional construction towards manufacturing-led approaches, such as we're seeing here today at Ilke.
Do you know what, Mark? We've had loads of people get in touch on Twitter this morning. They're really struggling to afford to rent or buy a home. They don't believe that the government means it.
Well, I mean, all I can say is what I see in terms of policy development, in terms of actually putting funding into the manufacturing home sector. There's a lot going on at the moment which is trying to actually enable the market so the government doesn't build homes directly. There's no state home building programme. A lot of people
Is that part of the problem?
Perhaps, it's a big sort of political hot potato in many respects. I know if Labour would potentially change that viewpoint from the current government, but what is happening at the moment is that the private sector has been enabled to think more about manufactured housing, and there's physical money going in. Big deal announced only 2 weeks ago where Sekisui, the biggest Japanese home manufactured builder in Japan, is coming to the UK just at a time when Japanese car manufacturers are leaving. So that tells you something about the fact that actually foreign investment into this sector is already happening.
So we could see a slight release in the pressure then. A small part of the problem is also that mortgage lenders aren't always that keen to lend against these homes, partly because they're unfamiliar with them, it's uncharted territory, but also is there an issue around the extent to which consumers like them? Let's talk to Gemma, who's a consumer expert. Do people like these houses? Are they used to them yet? Is that part of the problem, do you think?
That is part of the problem, because we do face a housing crisis and we do need to help more people own their own home. But there's two sides to solving this problem. First of all, provide a greater supply of more affordable housing. But we need to get people comfortable and excited about these new types of homes. So what that's really going to involve is getting all the players in the market, the home builders, the mortgage providers, government, to really educate people on the options available.
Because these are high quality, decent homes, aren't they? I think in the past the reputation of prefab homes wasn't strong, but the market's changing, isn't it?
The market's changed, but we need to make sure people are aware of that. And the difficulty is there's lots of misconceptions out there because there have been lower quality providers. And really, to get more people into the housing market, we need to increase the education.
Absolutely. Now these homes, when it comes to the end of it, you can pick your bathroom, you can pick your kitchen, you can pick your light fitting. So we think we will be seeing a lot more of these on the housing market. But the housing crisis, let's face it, it's something we're going to be talking about for a long time. John and Tina.
It is indeed. Nina, thank you very much indeed for this morning. It's really interesting. Thanks.